Hello and welcome to the Sunday Guardian podcast by Joyeeta Basu. Viewers, as you know, I always shoot my podcasts in the studio, but today I've come out of the studio and taken the whole setup for a very special guest. I'm at the Center for Land Warfare Studies, which is CLAWS, and as guest I have Lieutenant General Dushyant Singh, who is the Director General of CLAWS. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joyeeta, for calling me on your platform. I'm extremely honored and looking forward to a very fruitful discussion.
Yes. And viewers, today we are going to discuss on India, US, Russia, China, how India's defense equation works in terms of each of these countries, what is India's way forward, and on this, no better person than Lieutenant General Dushyant Singh to talk about it. So tell me, when we are talking about India, US, Russia, China, if we can begin with US, particularly US in the time of President Trump.
Okay, so you have underlined the question within the times of President Trump. So, one thing which is inherent in this particular question of yours is that will Trump be there even after 3 years? That's a question which everybody should be conscious of before we take a call on how India and US must progress. So I feel that it's a kind of a temporary phase of India-US relationship. It is characterized by our diplomatic relations, our economic equation. You know that there is an economic talks going on for over tariff, and they are almost on the verge of coming out with some kind of an interim agreement, which is a positive sign. So India's diplomacy must be given full kudos for that. But having said that, I would like to focus on the defense part of it because I am from the defense and I would like to share my thoughts on that. Incidentally, I had been to the US very recently in the month of April, and I had met a number of think tanks of the US, and especially the ones which are working closely with the Trump administration. And what I gathered from there was that the US interest has always been to ensure that they are able to sell their equipment to India. So every time after, and mind you, this meeting of mine took place, I think, 2 days after Pahalgam attack. So the incident was very fresh in the minds of the other side, but yet they choose not to speak so much about Pahalgam, but about defense procurement, defense sales, purchase, etc. And what I gathered was that their primary interest is that India should procure as much of defense equipment as possible because that would actually give a fillip to their economy. But will it be fruitful for us? That's a question which we have to ask ourselves and then move forward. For example, they were insisting on F-35s, and as far as we are concerned, we feel it's a very, very costly machine, $100 million, and to go in for it without a technology transfer, I think would not have been a good deal, to say so. And therefore, I said the same thing to them. Then they said, why do you insist on technology transfer? Now, you must realize that the Russia-Ukraine war, Israel-Hamas war, they have all been extended for more than a year. Even the Israel-Iran war, you saw that it went on for about 12 days. We were, I would say, singularly blessed to finish off our Op Sindoor in 4 days. But suppose if this thing had carried on, we would have been dependent on equipment which is ex-import. So we would like a technology transfer as one of the major issues when we enter into any kind of a defense deal with a country, whether it is the US, whether it is Russia, or any other country, Israel for that matter, France for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something which is primary as far as we are concerned. As far as Indo-US defense equation goes, we know that where are they coming from? They are coming from the aim of ensuring that we take maximum of their equipment. We have done so also. It's not that we have not done so. So in brief, I would say that India-US defense relationship is more transactional in nature. What suits us, we will do, and what suits them, they will do. We have had a number of agreements with them in the past also, which actually convey a longevity in our relationship, but at our own terms. So I think, in short, this would be my answer to your India-US relationship. The other factors will kick in to support this particular equation of defense. So diplomacy will support what we are trying to achieve as far as defense procurement, defense relationship with US and India is concerned. Incidentally, while we are talking of this particular subject, a few weeks back we had a naval exercise, joint exercise of the Quad. So nothing is stopped as far as India-US is concerned. It's only that there are some external noises which keep coming on, and we should be looking more deeper into it, and rather than focusing on what is superficially coming out of the social media, etc.
So, what about delivery? Because that is a major complaint that our armed forces have about that they don't deliver on time.
Absolutely, and this was also discussed by me when we said that, look, we are very keen to have whatever we want based on our terms. See, as far as delivery is concerned, there are two three issues. I would not put the entire blame on the US or on India. The delivery is partially due to both sides regulations. They have a very strict regulation of exporting defense equipment. So one thing you must understand, that no country gives you the top end. They will always give you a shade below their max capability. So and the country which is taking it would try to take the max out of him, so that we are able to actually exploit the equipment to the full. So then there are these regulations of their country of allowing a export to take place. India also has similar kind of restrictions on what equipment we can export, whether it is a private defense industry or whether it is the government defense industry, whether we are exporting BrahMos or whether we are. So it's a very natural process, and I think we should take it as such. As far as the other reasons for delays are also in terms of the other country not actually complying with our standards. When we say complying, would mean
Even that applies to the US as well.
yes. So, for example, if they want to, they want to give us their strikers, right? This is an armored vehicle which is used by for fighting, right? But we would like the striker to do the trials in our country based on our own requirements. See, we have a country with a terrain of mountains, deserts, plains, riverine, canal, jungle, you name it. I think India is one country which packs everything. So therefore, unless we try out that particular equipment fully, I don't think we'll put our money just blindly on anything. Just because it is from the US doesn't mean that we will take it. So we actually test it for our requirements. When we find that it is fully doable, then we move forward as far as procurement is concerned of a particular deal. So I would say it's a mixed bag. There are sometimes political reasons also for delay, and there are sometimes technical reasons for delay, and there are sometimes reasons of both sides having moving slow on various issues. So yes, you are right, there are delays, especially our G engine thing. I think that is
Yes.
something which has really made us suffer as far as our Tejas program is concerned. So I think I'll stop there as far as your delays question is concerned, and public will get the sense why these delays take place.
Yeah, because there is a line of thought that these delays happen because when you're talking about the political reasons, I mean, most people kind of tend to see it through that political lens that US does not want India to become a quote unquote some kind of a superpower, or at least even a middle power.
Well, it is very natural. If somebody is rising, there'll be 10 guys who will be trying to cut your leg, right? So India will have to now live with it. India is now the fourth largest economy, soon to be the third largest economy. It's no mean achievement within a period of 12 to 13 years to rise from the 11th to third largest. I think this is something which will come as an eyesore for many of the countries, including our neighbors, which are there on the northern border or the western border. Western border, of course, we should not be too concerned about, but definitely the northern border country is definitely concerned about India's rise. So therefore, you will be put through roadblocks, and I think the success lies in overcoming these roadblocks, whether through diplomacy, whether through our uh, other tools of statecraft. We should follow them. And once you are growing, let me tell you, no tool of statecraft is off the table. And I think your discerning listeners must understand what I'm trying to say.
Okay. I don't think we should go too much into
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So that's as far as the delay is concerned. But of course, overall political issues do kick in. I would not deny that particular factor. It depends on the personality which is there, the president of that particular country, leadership in our country. So our leadership is also quite cautious. It doesn't want to enter into anything blindly.
So, do you think the leadership in their country is trying to build up Pakistan in terms of defense terms as a counterweight to India? Is there a possibility? Because he's offering them, apparently, he has offered them a lot of things, President Trump, to General Asim Munir when they had that closed door lunch.
Yeah, the lunch is a big story in
Yes.
the social media, and people have taken it based on their perception as to how this luncheon party was there. I think India came out fantastically from that. If you look at he tried to do some kind of balancing by inviting the prime minister, and the prime minister quietly and rightly so said that he had to stop somewhere else, and so he can't really go in. He was trying to hyphenate India and Pakistan. I
Yeah.
think that was something which we did the right thing by not getting hyphenated. And in any case, Pakistan is a threat of immediacy. It is not a long-term threat. But this immediate threat is becoming little dangerous because of the leader who is there on the other side of the line of control. I'm talking of the de facto self-appointed,
Asim,
self-anointed Munir.
failed marshal.
Yeah, and I always say that, in fact, during a discussion which we had internally with me and my colleagues here, to be precise, Dr. Tara. So we came up with this beautiful idea, and we said that why don't we turn this entire argument that if you have to succeed with Pakistan, you have to always deal with the military on its head. And what we suggested was that we will only deal with the civil leadership, and if the military leadership that tries to interfere or tries to do something, we will hit the military. We will not hit the civil, we will hit the military. Now, the logic would be terrorism and civil. We will give the message to the people of Pakistan, we are not your enemies. We are enemy of your trouble creator and trouble monger, the field marshal Munir, the way you call it. I mean, this is something which I think we should propagate it. This is something new thinking, and I think we should try to work on it.
So, here, as we started my podcast with, the Russia question.
Yes.
How important is the Russia question even till date for India?
You see, if you go back to history of India, I think one country which has stood by us in thick and thin, situations after situation, Russia has been that particular country, irrespective of what kind of a government there was. Earlier there was USSR, and now you have Russia, irrespective of the type of leadership which was there in that particular country. So I think Russia is very important for us, right? How do we balance Russia and US? That's the job of the diplomacy, and I'm sure our diplomacy is quite clued up in doing so. And rightly, both the countries would realize, even US will realize and Russia will realize, that India is now no more a country to ignore. If US has to uh, rev up its economy, then India is very much required by them. There is no other external market in the world as large as India. There is no other defense market as large as India. So the US has willy nilly got to be with India. So is Russia. Now, if you take it, Russia is always there to support us. One may say that during Op Sindoor they adopted a little neutralish position, or they kept quiet. Even in the UN Security Council, they did not actually opposed the resolution passed by or the resolution passed by Pakistan, wherein they took out the name of TRF from the communique which was issued in UN Security Council. I think they were working for their personal national interest, and the reason is that they are heavily committed in a war where they need China, and I think they were doing a tactical adjustment, nothing more than that. We should not read anything more than that. We are still dependent on them for about 36% of our equipment and spare parts, etc. They have offered us a very good deal in Su-57 as a counter to F-35, which the Americans were giving with full technology transfer. That suits us. So we will take what is beneficial to us, and the Russians have always been a good friend of ours. We should continue with that.
So it is 33% dependence now.
36,
36
yes.
and not 60, which it was.
It was earlier. You see, it is also in India's interest. We should not
Yes.
become like Pakistan. You see,
Absolutely.
what Pakistan has done, it has got over 80% dependency on China. And that is why probably Munir is running to US to diversify his dependency on defense equipment. And what happened to the Chinese equipment during Op Sindoor, I think the world knows it, and people of India know it. Their PL-15, their HQ-9s, everything got blasted away. In fact, some of the missiles didn't even blow up after landing in India. That has been a cause of concern not only for China but also for Pakistan.
PL-15, I think.
Yeah, PL-15. Not only for China but also for Pakistan. So obviously Pakistan is running to the next best friend which it has, and that is lunch with Mr.
Donald
Trump. Mr. Trump. So diversification is a very important part of the strategy of any country. India today has a very, very balanced, diversified defense procurement strategy, where we have about 33% of our equipment coming from France, 11% or so, and it's likely to increase once the few other deals are going through with the US to much more higher. And we have a permanent partner in Israel, which has been always there. Again, I think the Israel-India relationship is shaping up something like the India-Russia relationship. We can count on them. I've heard the ambassador of Israel speaking in one of these forums in Manekshaw Center, where he said Israel stands by India in all its problems and in all its security situations, lock, stock, and barrel. So that's something which is very, very, I would say, healthy development, and India should honor that development.
So when you are talking about Russia and obviously China, now there are always possibilities. We cannot rule out the possibility of limited conflict, even if it is a limited conflict with China.
Yes.
And given whatever little bit of, 33%, I'm very happy to hear it, and that it's not 60% anymore. 36%. And the thing is, what if Russia goes neutral? Like as you said, because of their relationship with China, they went to an extent neutral when it came to Op Sindoor.
Yeah. Well, if there is if there is a conflict first of all, a conflict between India and China is likely to take place, but it may not be a full-fledged conflict. The reasons being, both the countries have set a very, very ambitious goal for themselves. That is the first reason. They want to be a superpower by 2049. We want to be a developed power by 2047. So both have a very large aim in front of them. So it is not in their interest to go in for a full-fledged war. You know what war does? It pulls you back by 5 to 6 years, 7 years. Your economy has to again come back on the rail. All those things happen. So therefore, both are likely to solve their problems through other means. China may indulge in cyber warfare. It may indulge in covert operation, narrative warfare. Those kind of things may happen, or some border a line of actual controls. Some conflicts there. Other than that, I do not see as far as the major conflict is concerned with China. But suppose if it takes place, something like Galwan Plus happens, and Russia adopts a neutral posture, that Russia's posture will depend on at what stage this is happening. If you're talking today, I think Russia will be neutral, but tacitly it will try to convince China to not go into a major conflict with India. But if suppose it happens, say for 5 years down the line, Russia is again emerged as a significant power, having its say, it has been able to resolve the Ukraine issue properly, then I think Russia will support India. But what is important, Joyita, for me is that we should not be banking too much on external support.
Absolutely.
So what we need to do is we should be prepared to deal with our challenges ourselves, and that is the only way you can say that you are the third largest economy, or you are a significant power in the world. So therefore, my sense is that our priority must be, as of today, to parallelly grow economically and militarily, because unless you have military power with you, nobody will listen to you. There is a old and I keep repeating this in every seminar where I go, that and it's in Hindi, but I'll tell you in English. And it was written by our national poet Ramdhari Singh Dinkar, who said that, you know uh, pardon is appropriate to only that power which has brute power. And in Hindi they say that कि वो क्या क्षमा करेगा जिसके पास न विष हो, विष मीन्स पॉइजन, न टीथ हो या दंतहीन, दंतहीन मीन्स न दांत हो, जो विनीत हो, which means who is always polite, and who is simple. A person or an entity or an organization like this, even if it pardons somebody, nobody will bother about him. They will trample him and go over him. So therefore, there is a need for us. And he was a poet who used to actually look at, when he was living at that point in time, poverty was there in our country. We were just independent, and things were not very healthy as far as our country's economic state was concerned. So he used to always write about such things. But even in that era, he said that don't forget brute power. Unless you have power, unless you have the stick, वो कहावत है ना, जिसकी लाठी उसी की भैंस. So I think that is something which has to be always ensured. And if we do that, we will be able to look after ourselves. We have to see what kind of threats we are going to see. And we should, once you are growing, you should have every tool of warfare on your table. Not necessary that you always fight a kinetic action. You can fight a non-kinetic action. You can fight non-contact kinetic action. You can fight non-contact non-kinetic action. So there are various options which we have, and I think India is gradually coming alive to that kind of a possibility, and we are possibly, the powers that be are possibly looking at it also. I'm not privy to it. I'm as knowledgeable as you are.
Oh, please, okay. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
The thing is that you're being too modest. Now, the China part.
Yeah, so I was just talking about the
Yeah,
China
you
part.
did, huh?
So what is likely to happen is that, look, we cannot develop a kind of a relationship like India Russia or India US with China. That is,
Militarily, I'm talking about.
I'm talking about
specifically.
militarily only. So militarily, they are our priority number one adversary, and that fact cannot be denied. So therefore, if we know that they are our priority number one adversary, our preparations to deal with them should be accordingly done. So what in my opinion, is that our military preparedness, defense preparedness, has to focus in a 360-degree manner. We have to leverage our strengths. Let's say, for example, our naval strength is fairly good. And if you look at the naval strength of China in Indian Ocean region, it's not so good.
Okay.
They are good overall. I mean, they are the largest number of ships in the world, etc. But to come to the Indian Ocean region, they have only three routes, right? Three narrow passes, Malacca, and there are two more further south of Malacca. So they have to go through that, and they are all controlled by us. We also have two aircraft carriers, and I always say we have three aircraft carriers. One of them is static,
Andaman Nicobar.
Andaman Nicobar. So,
Okay.
so Indian Ocean, you can say that we are the kings of Indian Ocean. There is no denial on that. So, as far as our maritime threat goes, I think we can actually make a major impact on China if we go to war or if we get into some kind of a conflict there. So, we'll continue to build on that strength. The second thing is about the air power. Now, in air also, we are in numbers we are behind, but let me tell you, the Chinese are having major problem. They may be having more number of missiles, but look at their state. 80 of their generals have been purged, disappeared. We don't know where they have gone. Their defense minister is incognito. What has happened to him, whether he has been killed or whether he's been put into some kind of a prison for life, we don't know about it. Similarly, very recently, I think yesterday or day before, again, one of their generals has been sacked. Imagine a rocket force, which is supposed to be the missile force, which is supposed to be doing the battle which you are seeing nowadays, so prominently being played out, whether it is Russia, Ukraine, or Israel, Iran, or Israel, Hamas. If their 80 of their top, 60, 70 of their top leadership is out, what would be the state of that particular force? I think today there is I've written an article. In fact, it must have been published. It's been published in Asia Light yesterday only about the state of China as far as military is concerned. Its military is really on the brink. PLA is not very happy with Xi Jinping, and there are feelers to that effect. The party seems to be there are the factions in the party which are trying to unsettle Xi Jinping. Probably that is one of the reasons why he's not going to BRICS. Maybe if he feels that if he goes out, he'll be displaced by somebody else. There are so many factions
I
within.
heard there was a revolt brewing in
Yes, yes,
CMC.
yes. So there is a huge amount of internal challenge, and I'm not even talking about their economic state of affairs. Look at their economy. Their economy has literally gone down. Look at their PLA. They are a conscript army with 2 year service only. We are having Agniveers of 4 years, and we are feeling that there is a need to increase it. Imagine a force with 2 year of conscription. What would be happening in their army? The nation has one child, or the country has one child now. People are unwilling to send their children to the military. A military like this, I don't think. In fact, I'm writing an article on this infantry of the world, and in that, believe you me, while technologically there are all the countries which are ahead of India in terms of the infantry being equipped, but the final analysis says that given the experience of the Indian infantryman, given his level of combat experience, given his level of hardiness, given his level of skills, probably they score over all of them. So, and in this analysis, the US is included, UK is included. I'm going to come out with this article very soon. It will be published in our yearbook. So, we have our strengths. Let me tell you, Himalayas are with India. You must not forget. So, we will deal with China when it comes to it. And with this kind of a background, if there is a need, we'll continue to deal with them economically. So what? If they stop something, we will look for diversification. We are already doing it in terms of magnets. They have, I believe, they stopped magnets from being exported to India. The semiconductor chips, etc. We are diversifying. We are reaching out to Taiwan. We are doing some manufacturing ourselves. These kind of changes do unsettle a country for a long, but you must not forget 1998 we were sanctioned, but what did it result in? It resulted in we becoming Atmanirbhar in space today in rockets. All that problem went behind because we were challenged. So it's good to be challenged. And in the Chinese dictionary, there is no word called weakness. They only have a word called Weichi, Weichi,
Okay.
which means that challenge and opportunity both exist together. So if there is a challenge, there is an opportunity. I feel we should deal with China transactionally. Wherever they are willing to come on board, we will come on board with them. Wherever they are not, we will just ignore them like what we did in SCO. We refuse to sign, we refuse to sign. That's it.
And what about all this talk about, and China's sixth generation aircraft, and apparently we do not even have the.
Look,
So is that a threat?
look, if it is genuinely a sixth generation aircraft, it will be a threat to us. I would not create an impression that we are 10 feet tall or China is 10 feet tall. I would say, given the entire dynamics of warfare between India and China, given our advantages of the soldiering, given our advantages of skills, mountainous terrain, ability to operate in such areas for long durations, given our own scientific advancements which are taking place, given some of the advantages of our aircrafts, being able to take heavier low payloads across because of the altitude difference. We take off from a lower altitude, they take off from a higher altitude. With there is a penalty of payloads. So one aircraft only can carry about 1/4 of what its total capacity is. We fly from, let's say, Ambala, we'll carry the full payload and deliver it into Tibet. Of course, Tibet is not their country, but they claim it to be their country. So what I'm trying to say is that it's a evenly matched proposition as of now. The battle will be won by the side which is more quick on the feet, on thinking, innovating on the go, and responding cleverly.
And where 60 generals do not disappear.
Yes, incidentally, we have no such history like that because our training, grooming, everything is totally different from the Chinese. They went faulty on their policies. That's one of the problems, and economically also they're not doing well. So overall, I think they are having more challenges than us.
Now, now you see this debate about this Operation Sindoor. I mean, it doesn't seem to be dying. So, do you think this is necessary?
Look, I always am of the opinion that Operation Sindoor was a grand success. In any conflict, battle, war, what is of the utmost importance? It's the outcome. In the outcome, if we have won hands down, thumpingly, recognized by every country in the world, so much so that Munir has to run to USA to seek help, get more money, ditching China, which has been always sitting as a friend, which they call as higher than the Himalayas, deeper than the oceans, etc., means that they have been hit badly, and raising controversy where there are no controversies is something, a total politicization of issues for short-term gains by various internal factors. And I think that's one of the weaknesses. Kautilya always said, that it's the inner mole which actually is more dangerous than an external source of threat. I think we should keep this in mind. On national security, let's not debate minor issues. If there are any shortcomings, I am sure the Indian armed forces are capable of doing their own analysis, capable of coming up with solutions, and the nation will watch.
So, when you're talking about national security, where do you think India's national military security is headed?
Well, one thing which has been made very clear after the Op Sindoor, and also before that, the discussion which we had in relation to Russia, China, and the ongoing conflicts which are taking place across the world, such as Russia, Ukraine. We are not sitting and watching these conflicts, right? Any military worth its salt has to keep on studying these conflicts and applying it to their own situation on their own terms, and not that a country has done X thing in the Russia Ukraine war, so I should do it. No, we have to see whether it will suit us to do so along the Himalayan terrain, whether we need some kind of a different equipment, different tactics, different procedures, different strategies. So we have to do this kind of a analysis every time. and then adopt that particular strategy based upon that. So, for example, Israel did an Op Sindoor on Iran.
Yep.
Actually, it was a copybook playback of what India did, Israel did. So they learned from us, right? Now, what we have to learn from them, they did the Op Sindoor a shade better than us. And why did they do that?
In what ways? If you can
In the entire execution, what they did was that they totally ensured that Iran was incapable of responding, right? In our case, there were some exchanges which took place, right? So those exchanges can be taken care of in the future because of certain I would say uh, planning parameters which we may have uh, not looked at. The Israelis looked at. See, I'm hinting at the intelligence part. Mossad is a one great intelligence organization. You will realize that our government also accepted that Pahalgam there was an intelligence failure. Now we should not allow a Pahalgam to happen. First of all, as a
no, they also failed intelligence.
I agree. I agree. So they learned it.
Yeah.
They learned from that. What I'm trying to say is they failed on the 6th of October. 7th of October. We failed on 22nd of April. Right. But what we need to do is that we need to actually build on this intelligence and assume that there will be intelligence failures also. But those intelligence failures must not result in catastrophic uh, kind of results. So Pahalgam, to my mind, was attack on our national spirit. That's the way I project it because it really shook us up. It really shook us up. That is where I feel that intelligence is very very important. So one area where we have to look forward to is that when we are talking of debates etc or moving forward, intelligence has been our constant weakness. You take Kargil War, same thing. The group of ministers committee came up with this thing that we are intelligence wise weak. So priority one is intelligence. Priority two is new generation technology. And it is here I would like to highlight on artificial intelligence, cyber, machine language, LLPs, drones, counter drone systems, space technology. Space, we are still way behind. We are very, very, talking only of comparison. We are in the elite club. Huh? We are the top four powers which are there as far as space is concerned. But look at the gap. And I'm not looking at the gap from Pakistani perspective. I'm looking at the gap from a Chinese perspective. Because in tomorrow's war, it's my personal take that there's not going to be any two front. It's always going to be a one front. And one front is that if you're having a conflict with Pakistan, be rest assured China will be involved in it. And if you're having a conflict with China, be assured Pakistan will be involved in it. So the resources of China can easily be diverted to Pakistan. So when you do that comparison in the space department, we are lagging behind in terms of number of satellites, in terms of our other capabilities on navigation, capability of positioning, tracking, etc. We can do all this. It's not that we can't do it, but it's the capability gap which is important to be filled up. So that is the second area which we are focusing on, and it is good that the government of India and the Indian Armed Forces have recognized this thing, and they have declared the next 10 years as the decade of transformation. The decade of transformation is basically about assimilating new technologies into their war fighting. So this is the second area which we need to be looking at, and the third area is we should make the buck count for the bank. So our budgetary support has to be there. It has to increase, and in some form, the government recognized it. Remember, after Op Sindoor, when there is technically no ceasefire, it is still cessation of military activities on land, sea, and air. This is the wordings of the foreign secretary that time, and it continues. There has been no upgrade to that particular situation. So, what did we do? We immediately sanctioned 26,000 crores for procurement of defense equipment by the defense secretary. What additionally, which people don't know, was done was that the emergency powers have been increased of all the three vice chiefs. What people don't know is now that earlier in the EP, that is emergency procurement, we could only do revenue level procurement. Now even the capital has been included. So what is the aim? Fast tracking. So the government as such is recognizing the fact that we need to fast track all these things. Yesterday there was the news about 52 satellites being fast tracked. Earlier they were planned much later. They have realized this thing. The government has realized that look, we can't just be planning in a laissez-faire manner 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line. If there is a need for us to spend the budget, might as well do it. And India has the capability. I was the other day attending a space seminar. It was a 3-day seminar by SIA. Amazing. The private space industry is growing at a rapid pace. It just needs that support of ISRO, it needs the support of the government. And I think it's a very welcome step that the 52 satellites are being launched on a fast track basis. Yesterday's news. So that's the third point which I want to bring out as far as our defense preparedness goes. And I think the entire ecosystem is alive to making India great by 2047, much before that. How much we will succeed, I know all timelines have a slippages, but that doesn't matter. That should not prevent us from not treading on that path. Let's tread on that path. If there are some slippages, we will take it in our stride. And India is good in ad hocism. You must know that. Our legacy systems also paid their money for value for the money. L-70, Zoo, 60s weapons. They were able to bring down most of the dangerous looking drones of Pakistan. So India is good at, Prime Minister Manmohan Singh used to call it as Jugaad technology. So India has that, both the ability to use what it has, and now with the economic heft which we are developing, I know it's not enough, but with whatever we are having, we will make every buck count for the bank.
And that's all very reassuring, I must say.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this absolutely riveting conversation. Thank you so much for coming for this show.
Thank you, Joyeeta, and look forward to meeting in the future
We
as
have
well.
to do another one for certain.
Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you, viewers, for watching. Until the next time.